What's up, guys? Welcome to another trade breakdown video. So after the Toronto Maple Leafs added Lyubushkin a couple of days ago, they add another defenseman, Joel Edmundson. So in this deal, he's 50% retained in terms of his salary. And Washington received the 2024 third round pick that belonged to the New York Islanders and the 2025 fifth round pick that belonged to the Chicago Blackhawks. And everyone's probably saying, well, this is probably not the best deal. They could have gotten another defenseman, but you have to think about the Toronto Maple Leafs cap space. And to get this guy on a cap hit of $875,000, that is good value. You're looking at, the previous trade that he was implicated in with the Washington Capitals and Montreal Canadiens, where the Habs are retaining 1.75 million. Now the Washington Capitals are retaining another 50%, which is 875,000. So currently he's only being paid below $1 million. So for a former Stanley Cup champion in Joel Edmundson, a player who's a veteran who has a lot of experience in the playoffs, I think this is good value. Obviously, this is not the Joel Edmundson of years past, but you could still work with that, and I think that's what Brad Treliving was trying to do here, try to add experience. And it's funny how Kyle Dubas added Ryan O'Reilly last year, who won a Stanley Cup with the St. Louis Blues, and now he adds another Stanley Cup winner from that team. So, guys, what are your thoughts essentially on this deal?
Um, I don't know. I look at Toronto as a team, okay? And I say to myself, like, this is a team that's got a bunch of great talented players, right? And I look at Vegas, I look at Edmonton, I look at the teams across the NHL that are adding players, and I just don't really get this move for the Leafs. Like, I get it in the sense that he's got playoff experience. I get it in the sense that, he's going to bring some toughness, but this is a guy who hasn't played a full season in the NHL for the last, five, like, it looks like forever. The guy's always injured, right? But even at that, like, it's just another basic fifth, sixth defenseman that they end up acquiring. They don't go and get the big moves. And I know people are going to say, oh, but salary cap is a thing. Yeah, I get it. But at some point, it's like if you look at Vegas and you look at Edmonton and you look at Dallas and you look at all these guys with all the names that they acquired, Colorado, right? These are all teams that are adding to try to make the playoffs, to try to win the Stanley Cup, and to be competitive in the playoffs. And I just feel like with the Leafs, they're trying to do what they did with Dubas, which is essentially try to poke holes in situations that you think are going to help you make it, but at the end of the day, you're still not good enough to potentially win. And that's kind of where I'm at with that, where it's like, at some point, like, you got to give up assets to get somebody, right? You look at what Hannafin went for. You look at what a guy like David Savard is rumored to go for. You look at what a guy like Tanev went for. And you settled on Ilya Lyubushkin and Joel Edmundson, which, in my opinion, I think is very bad. Like, I don't think Toronto improved. I think they did. I don't think they got worse, but they just didn't improve. So it's a weird move for Treliving. I don't really like it. I don't really get it. And again, you're getting Edmundson, but with a guy who's got back problems and a guy who, he's not bad defensively. He's good in his own end, but you don't know if he's going to stay healthy. The moment, like, the guy hasn't stayed healthy in the last 3 seasons, he's struggled to be able to stay in the lineup. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't really get it. And I think for a third and a fifth, like, I know the Canadians traded a third and a seventh last year to move him, but for a third and a fifth, like, I don't know. I think Washington is probably cheering in the streets just because that deal went through and they were able to get something for him. That's my opinion on it. I don't like it for Toronto. I think they should have done more. I think they could still do more. I mean, deadline's tomorrow at 3, but if this is the only 2 moves they're going to make all deadline, it's disappointing. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, well, Joel Edmundson is clearly not the same player he was pre-Habs making the Stanley Cup Finals in that 2021 season. He hasn't been the same ever since. There's been a gradual, pretty steady decline in his game. He's not the same force to be reckoning with. He's not the same reliable, let's say, number 4 kind kind of physical defenseman that he was on the Blues. That time they won the Stanley Cup, hence his experience. And Toronto is just, they're trying to do something with nothing here, because they acquire Joel Edmundson, they acquire Lyubushkin, guys who, these guys are the bargain bin defensemen on the trade bait boards. They're not. Yes, they give away a third round pick, but they're not like you said, they're not giving away real assets to acquire these guys, and they're not necessarily guys that are kind of risk and high reward. You're not in that kind of situation either. They stay pretty horizontal. The Leafs don't get better. To be honest, I don't think Treliving has that much of a vision with this team. This is a team that lacks skill in their top four at the defenseman position. They did not address that need. The D board for this trade deadline is shrinking. It doesn't look like Chikrin's going to get moved. Hannafin got moved yesterday. Sean Walker, etc. So it's just it's a meh. Like, the Leafs are kind of in the same spot that they were, before this trade deadline, and they haven't. Last season you could give the argument that they were aggressive in the sense that they went and picked up Sam Lafferty. They gave away a little bit there, and even for Ryan O'Reilly, they gave away some very good trade value. But this year there hasn't been that same effect. I don't find they've replaced Ryan O'Reilly's secondary scoring and ability to play center effectively on their team. So look, it's unless the Leafs make a significant move from now till the end of the day on Friday, this is not a team that I have as a true contender who's really trying to match up with teams like Florida, who got Tarasenko as an example.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I'm totally in agreement with you guys. Like I was saying before, like, even though he has that experience, that Stanley Cup ring in the past, obviously age, injuries play a factor into how he's been playing as of late. And just looking here, where would he fit in the lineup? Well, I would say in a third pairing role. Probably playing where William Leitchen is playing right now. So he'll be playing Legason. Sorry, he'll be playing right alongside Simon Benoit, or maybe Lyubushkin goes down to the third pairing and Joel Edmundson plays in the top four. But this is not the Joel Edmundson that was playing top 4 minutes with the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
So I what would you like to add to my
Yeah.
comments?
But it's just like, if you look at this decor, okay? Like, I'm not, and this is not a video trying to bash the Leafs. I'm just trying to be as honest as possible. I look at this decor and I compare it to teams like Boston. I compare it to teams like Tampa to some extent, even with Sergachev out, and I compare it to teams like Florida, teams like Vegas, right? The big contenders, Colorado. This is nowhere near like the best defensive core in the league, and you had an opportunity. I know that, maybe Hannafin didn't want to sign in Toronto. Fine, whatever. I get it. Okay. But you're in on Scott Walker, but you don't want to trade for him because you don't want to give up a first round pick. You're in on Chris Tanev. You don't want to trade a first round pick to get him because you don't want to move your first round pick. To me, I think it's like, at some point you have to just get the assets that you need to get in order to win. You look at your defense, like, apart from Morgan Riley, who I think is probably in the upper echelon of defensemen, Liljegren's a decent top 4, Brody's a decent top 4. After that, like, you don't have another top 4 defenseman. You have a bunch of guys who are 6s, right? And that's not good enough in a deep 4-round playoff series. It's not good enough. So I think Toronto failed in terms of addressing the biggest need that they've tried to address for so many years. And I know that Jake McCabe's injured and he's coming back. I get it. But even then, if you look at all the other contenders across the league, they have defensive depth all the time. And guys like Edmundson and guys like Lyubushkin are their 7th defenseman. They're not their top 6 defenseman, right? And that's the point that I have with Toronto, is that, like, it's a low risk move in the sense where, look, if Edmundson struggles, you don't have to re-sign him at the end of the season. He goes to free agency. Same thing with Lyubushkin. But does it thread the needle? Does it make you better than what you were 2 weeks ago? And the answer is no. So I think at the end of the day, Toronto didn't get better, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. Is Toronto didn't get better, and they have LTIR, like they have cap space in the sense where they might be able to make some moves now, or they have assets that they can potentially trade away. But if Tree Living doesn't want to trade those guys away to make his team better, you're not going to win. You're not going to move forward with the decor you have, in my opinion. I just don't see it.
Yeah, and just to add to what we were saying, Jay Fresh says that he's a physical depth defenseman, big body, cross checks, net front presence, playoffs and battles. So, very simplistic in terms of his analysis, and you can see that statistically not great as of right now. But we just like to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. We hope that your comments align to our analysis, and if they don't, well, we'll like to debate in the comment section below. But Toronto Maple Leaf fans, what are you guys thinking about this trade? Washington Capital fans, I'm guessing that you guys are pretty happy with the return for Joel Edmundson, knowing that you're not in a playoff spot, and also that you traded Anthony Manta for a pretty good haul. So I wouldn't be surprised if other guys like Max Pacioretty and Nick Dowd might be on the move. Maybe another guy like Nick Jensen as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, I would like to hear what you guys have to say. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Young Guns Podcast. Thank you so much, guys, for watching.